Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe, week 260. That's 52 times 5. So, my 5 year anniversary of the Cup of Joe is also the 5 year anniversary of our being in Detroit. And if you'd never heard the origin story there, the reason I send this out on Saturdays, well, more recently it's kind of become sometimes Sundays, but it's either created on during the week and sent Saturday morning, or it's created on Saturday and sent Sunday. But the Saturday Cup of Joe was a response to a bunch of emails I received my very first week in Detroit. What's it like? How is it? What have you seen? What have you heard? Are you safe? All these emails came in from friends and family in my previous company, or in New England, or in Connecticut. And so I collected all the emails. And when I had time on Saturday morning that first week, I put everybody in the blind copy and just sent out this is what I saw, heard, and thought about this week in Detroit. And it became somewhat successful. People responded, forwarded it, said, send another one, tell me what next week's like. And it just became a regular habit on Saturday mornings. And then I started putting it online, probably about, 8 or 10 weeks in. And then it's been on an email chain, or posted on Medium ever since. Not always with video. That's a um, fairly new piece. But I've got my cup of Joe here. Got my Detroit map, and we're still talking about what I think, saw, heard this week. It's gone through a lot of different topics. One of the original topics was called Answer Well, and that was just my own motto or saying, whatever you want to call it. But Answer Well was this idea that I carried around with me, which was no matter the question, no matter where it came from, make sure you bring your whole attention to the answer. So even if it's an email, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get to that email right away. It isn't a commentary on what you prioritize, although that's really important. It was more when you get to that email, when you get to that project, when you get to your response, whatever you're doing in that moment, bring your full best answer to the challenge, to the question, to the topic, to the task. And so when you hear me say answer well, I used to explain it a lot more often, but what it means is, bring your best each and every moment. And so that's still one of the things I hope to convey in the Cup of Joe. It's one of the things I still send out or tag or talk about, is ways in which leadership and performance and thoughtfulness all play into what we do, where we work, how we lead teams, how we lead companies, what our response is to issues of the day. And, this week, my answer well moment was this balance between the question why and the question what if. I took part in a innovation design session with a really cool company, a bunch of innovators who help companies think through product and product design and product management. And, they asked the question why, in order to get at what is if you ask the question why enough, you get to those first principles of what the consumer wants, what the customer wants, what your business partner wants or needs, what, you know, problem you're solving in the world. And I was thinking about this question of people who want to ask why. Curiosity is one of the key things that drives me for sure, and a lot of the people that I surround myself with. And for me, the question I was asking myself was what if? And how it changes my career, how it changes my work by asking what if? What if it worked this way? What if this is how it happened? What if? And sure, why is part of that. It's foundational. If there was a Venn diagram of why and what if, there would be a lot of overlap. But I think part of the reason innovation has become such a big part of the Cup of Joe in my career is this question of what if? What if it worked this way? But the question, talking about it, really isn't enough. My friend Laura Granneman likes to say, fall in love with the problem. When you fall in love with the problem, that's the thing you need to be working on, that you should be working on it. And the thing I always think of is, well, what if I fall in love with all the problems? What if I fall in love with every problem I see? Because that's where the curiosity comes in. So for me, Answer Well has also become taking action. Just like I said with the email, when you're writing your email, Make sure you say the extra thing. There's a lot of assumptions built into our emails. There's a lot of assumptions built in my text. They'll know what I mean. But saying the extra thing, this is my answer, but if this were true, my answer would change. Or, and also consider this. Or, if you need more information, please ask. Saying that extra thing can often be really important for the quality of your answer, the quality of the interaction. And so, for me, it's, what will not only be the thing I fall in love with as a problem, but then take action on? What's enough to go beyond words and start to have to attack, have to address? And so this year, Answer Well, and this Cup of Joe has also meant, standing up for my community and fighting racism and trying to bridge the racial home ownership gap. And those types of things are also baked in to Answer Well. It's part of the really big answer that I need to give. What will my answer be to the challenges facing our country, our society, our community? But it can be, like I said, big or small. It's just one of those things I keep coming back to that helps me answer well in what I do. Another topic that I noticed for the 5 years of the Cup of Joe was the Next Belt. The Next Belt, my term for Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Louisville, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, traditionally termed the Rust Belt by historians and journalists, and my effort to change the perception of those cities by changing the words we use to talk about them and really focusing on how the Midwest, the upper Midwest, has such an unbelievable opportunity, whether that's location for travel, air travel, making it easy to get, at least in Detroit, a world class airport and get anywhere you need to be. It's also being, you know, close to fresh water and being close to um, activities and being in an area of the country that I didn't grow up knowing very well, but that has unbelievable opportunities. And I think there's a conversation about sustainability and innovation that can come out of Detroit, just like industrialization came out of Detroit. And I think, lastly, it's also about cost of living and quality of life, the history and character of a place, and not coming to these cities or thinking about these cities as needing to change because of the people who live here or the condition of the real estate or the buildings um, or how the legacy of racial tension in some of these cities, all of our cities, but rather thinking about it as participating in the story. So not displacing Detroiters and not coming in and pushing out uh, lifelong Detroiters and residents of Detroit, but actually coming and becoming part of the community and weaving ourselves into the story of the Next Belt. I think that's the exciting part for a lot of young people, for millennials, for families, but I think even um, seeing a lot of native Michiganders and Midwesterners coming back to the places where they grew up has been a fascinating trend to watch. So the Next Belt probably hasn't grown is as a term or in rebirth as quickly as I imagined 5 years ago, but we're still seeing a lot of movement. I think of a term I used last week that I want to keep using going forward: the Great Reshuffling. I think we had a Great Depression, we had a Great Recession. I think post COVID, I'm thinking of it as the great reshuffling. People are thinking about their jobs and their homes and their families a lot different. Location is a big part of that. And so I think that new way of looking at it, instead of asking why, asking what if. What if I didn't have to go to work every day? What if I lived wherever I wanted? What if I could keep my job and live wherever I wanted? And all of those questions really coming to bear in the end of this year, next year, and the following. I don't think we've actually seen the full reshuffling yet. I think those thoughts and those emotions have started. We're starting to see waves of it. I'll include a link to the top 10 places that millennials are moving according to 2019 data. But that's, the Denvers, Portland's, Frisco, Texas is on there because this is the data pre-COVID. We know a lot of people moved during 2020 to either capture the lowest interest rates of all time, to get out of cities, to get more space. There was a lot of prompting of change, and I think the great reshuffling is just beginning, and a lot of big questions will be asked. And then finally, innovation. all of these things, answering well, asking what if, thinking about how to rebrand and represent Detroit, and then thinking about what's next in the country. Innovation has become a big thing that is either tied to or born out of a lot of these questions. And I think that's one of the things I've been drawn to. It's an often overused term, and I think it's been watered down such that it doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. And it can even be a little bit like the words fintech or something that just kind of don't mean anything, or get used too much. But a new way, a better way to bring ideas to bear and to make changes that benefit people in the world. I think that's a really exciting thing. I think when I used to write about adding value and constantly thinking holistically about value, what's the best way to capture value? My law school note, I wrote about Moneyball and how, Billy Beane of the Oakland A's had used this new way of looking at data to engineer a baseball team that both outperformed the um, financial analysis, like rosters and salary numbers, and also outperformed on the field, making the playoffs and having a chance to win the World Series. I don't think Billy Beane ultimately has won a World Series yet under the model, but making the playoffs, repeatedly beating everyone else in the division year over year for a decade. I think there was something that caught my attention, maybe, not insignificantly, my love of baseball and growing up playing baseball, but also the thought process that looking at a problem in a new way reveals new solutions, reveals new value. And then you can capture that value. To me, that was the best like combination of results and storytelling. Not just Michael Lewis's storytelling, but I'm saying each of us in our businesses, leading our companies, looking at a problem and saying there's a new way to look at it, and that new way of looking at it is going to help us achieve the result we wanted even more quickly, even more efficiently. And so for me, I think I've taken that Moneyball mindset and tried to bring it everywhere. And I think of innovation in the same way. I almost think of them as intertwined in my mind. It's a better way to measure, to evaluate data, to use data, to tell a story, to accomplish whatever our goal is. Whatever your goal is at your company, on your team, in your personal life, or in your career, try to always be thinking about the new ways of gathering data, new ways of testing assumptions, and then the new ways of accomplishing your goal that come out of that. So it feels a little like constant change, but I think it's more like constant curiosity. And that's really been 5 years of the Cup of Joe, has been, I call it the Saturday Cup of Joe from Detroit, to try to capture, you know, that it's just going to be random thoughts and links from throughout the week. It's going to be based in Detroit and my experience here. That's how it started, and that's still what I'm passionate about. The city and all the things I get to do and see throughout the week, I get really excited about. My curiosity is unending, and so as a result, Answer Well is becoming sharing it with you, and hoping that sharing it in video, sharing it in text. It's a lot of words out there over 5 years, and I'm sure some of them I look back and cringe if I were to read every single week. But throughout that time, just continuing to write, continuing to hit send, continuing to hit publish, um, has, I think, made me a better storyteller, a better thinker, and more willing to discuss what I think and believe on a variety of issues. Of course, those that are nearest and dearest to my work and my heart, like family, community, housing, opportunity, and what we leave behind, what the legacy will be for millennials, Americans, Detroiters. And so it's always big ideas. I'm always big ideas, but I hope to tie them back to something you can use on a daily basis. And you can use in your business, you can use with your team, you can use in your thought process. So hopefully it's been practical, it's been thought provoking. Sometimes I'm wrong and I figure it out through writing about it. Sometimes I'm wrong and I figure it out through your emails responding. So thank you. And sometimes it's actually just the way I said it. Oh, I didn't mean that. Here's the way I meant it. And I get to rewrite it the next week or rewrite it in future weeks and get better and better at that, I hope. So thank you, as always, for watching, reading. I'm going to continue to put the links and stories below the video, and I really appreciate, as always, your time and consideration. Continue to answer well, and continued success.